Welcome back, everybody, to the Twitter podcast video thing we're doing here with myself, KSACK, and my partner, Kane's KJ34, the undisputed best Twitter gambling personality there is. How you doing today, Canes?
We're doing good. Just waiting on the tournament to start. Just got one more day.
So before we get into the Midwest region, I want to ask you, who do you think is a lower seed in the tournament, any region, who could make a run at the Final Four?
And I really like UConn in the East region as a 7 seed. I think they got a favorable draw. I think Book Knight and RJ Cole is going to lead them to the Final Four to take on Gonzaga.
Let's see if Bobby Hurley can get behind it and move them on to the Final Four to potentially face Gonzaga. So moving into the Midwest region, we're looking at Illinois versus Drexel as the 1 versus 16 seed here. Again, 16 seeds only won once in tournament history, so we're looking more at Illinois and if they can cover. Illinois, great Big Ten competition, has shot 49.9% from the field and 37.6% from three, and that led them to a Big Ten tournament championship. They also hold opponents to a 41.2% clip on defense, while Drexel is actually a pretty poor defense, holding opponents to 44%. Drexel is a little bit better of a free throw shooting team, which is at 77.7% compared to Illinois' a pretty poor free throw shooting team at 69.1%, which could hurt in some tight games. Illinois has a massive rebounding advantage of 10.1 compared to Drexel's rebound margin, which is pretty low. They do not rebound the ball well on offense or defense. So I'm going to side with Illinois in the Fighting Illini, covering a blowout minus 22.5 here.
Next game we're going to look at is the 8-9 matchup between the Mickey Mouse ACC champs, Georgia Tech, taking on Loyola Chicago. Loyola comes into this matchup with the best scoring defense, only allowing 55.5 points per game. Both teams shoot pretty well from the field, but Loyola holds their opponents to a much lower percentage at just 40.7% from the field, while Georgia Tech allows their opponents to shoot 45.9% from the field. And also another reason we're back in the Ramblers is Cameron Cutwig is an absolute beast down low in the paint. And with that being said, we're going to take Loyola Chicago winning outright and covering the minus 4.5 spread for Sister Jean. The next game we're going to look at is the 5-12 matchup between Oregon State and the Tennessee Volunteers. The Beavers were quite mediocre this year, to winning just half their games in a weak Pac-12 conference. Tennessee's also very good at limiting the makes from their opponents on the field. And Oregon State also shoots well below average at 43.5%. The Volunteers should also be much more talented, led by two talented freshmen, and the talent mismatch should be enough for the Volunteers to win over the Beavers. We're going to take Tennessee -8 and to advance to the next round.
Moving into the next game, we're looking at Oklahoma State versus Liberty. I've seen a lot of eyes on the 13 seed here, potentially getting an upset, but we'll get into it and tell you our pick here in a minute. Cade Cunningham, obviously going to be the best player on the floor, projected number 1 overall pick. He's had a couple really big games here down the stretch late in the season. Oklahoma State is also a strong rebounding team, grabbing 38.6 rebounds per game compared to Liberty's smaller size, only grabbing 31. Liberty shoots 39.1% from three, which has led them to a great season thus far, but Oklahoma State, with a stifling defense, is only allowing 31.2% from three-point range from their opponents. Oklahoma State has also had really good wins, looking at Baylor, West Virginia, Texas, Oklahoma. All are going to play a role here in the NCAA tournament, and they've taken all of them down. So for that reason, I'm going to side with Oklahoma State to move on to the next round and also to cover the 7.5. The next game we're going to look at here is San Diego State out west versus the Syracuse Orange. Syracuse is a very good free throw shooting team, coming in averaging 78.4% per game compared to San Diego State's lower 70s at 72%. You're looking at San Diego State shooting 37.5% from three. Syracuse, with their lengthy zone, has actually been better this year than normal, allowing opponents only to shoot 31% from three. Syracuse also, like I said, lengthy zone. Jim Boeheim, you know how he does it, is forcing 14.7 turnovers a game. San Diego State also forcing 15.2 turnovers a game. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be up and down. We're going to see who can take advantage, and I think Syracuse, with the better free throw shooting down the stretch, is going to win this game outright as an upset. Also going to cover the +3, obviously, so we're backing the orange in this one.
The 3-14 matchup in this region is Morehead State versus West Virginia. Morehead State surprised a lot of people by knocking off Belmont in the Ohio Valley Conference tournament, but they made it. But they do struggle with turnovers, which will be critical in this matchup. They average about 15.3 turnovers a game, and West Virginia also forces a good amount with their pesky defense at 14.9 a game, and that should lead to some easy buckets for West Virginia. Morehead State is also one of the least efficient offensive teams that made the tournament, and they could struggle against the full court press defense that West Virginia is famous for. So with those stats, we're going to take West Virginia to win this game and move on, and also cover the -13 spread. The next game we're going to look at features one of the most overseeded teams, in my opinion. We got Rutgers versus Clemson. Clemson opened the season with a bunch of key wins, but really fell off down the stretch. They rely on a lot of threes, and Rutgers is pretty solid defensively against the three, allowing their opponents just to shoot 32.1% from behind the arc. Rutgers also has its top 10 in blocks per game, which should cause some trouble for 6'9" forward Amir Sims, which leads Clemson in scoring. Rutgers also has the rebounding advantage in this matchup by averaging about 2.5 more rebounds per game than Clemson does. So we're going to take Rutgers money line at -125 to advance to the round of 64.
Moving into the last game in this region, we have Houston, the Cougars, playing Cleveland State. This is going to be a quick one. Houston's rebounding margin here is 7.6 compared to Cleveland State's -0.3. They're getting out-rebounded every single game on average. Houston holds opponents to a stifling 37.3% field goal percentage, one of the best and scrappiest defenses in the country. Houston also averages 2 less turnovers a game. With all this being said, I think Houston's defense is going to cause heavy problems for Cleveland State, and we're going to back the Cougars to move on as the 2 seed in this region and cover the 20.5. So let's let Canes give you a little recap here.
All right, recap all the picks. A little bit heavy favorite, but to be expected. We're going to take the Illinois spread at -22.5 to cover that. The next matchup, we're going to have Loyola Chicago winning outright and covering -4.5 versus the Yellow Jackets. We're also going to take Tennessee versus the Beavers of Oregon State to win outright and cover 8 points. We got Cade Cunningham and the Cowboys of Oklahoma State covering -7.5. We got Syracuse as the dog winning outright and advancing to the next round in that matchup. Then we have West Virginia covering -13 versus Morehead State. Then we have Rutgers money line in a close game beating Clemson. And then finally we have Houston as the 2 seed covering -20 points.
All right, thank you, Canes, and we will be back with the South region next. Hopefully we get some good games here Thursday, Friday, and Saturday as we move into the first round, and we can't wait to see how it all prevails. Have a good one, everyone.